Welcome to the Bloomingdale Public Library's course, Introduction to Access. In this class, we will cover the basics of creating and using a database within the application of Microsoft Access. Let's take a look at Microsoft Access. Access is a relational database application that comes with Microsoft Office products. A relational database is essentially a method of linking data from different places using a common identifier that exists in both of those places. So here is what happens when you open up Microsoft Access. And right off the top, you can see that there are templates here available that you can use, like a blank desktop database, asset tracking, contacts, and all these different types. But for our usage, we're going to go ahead and create a brand new database. So we'll go ahead and left click on blank desktop database. Now when this box appears prompting us to save the database, let's go ahead and click on the folder icon. And from there, we can go ahead and name this one, and we can save it to the desktop. I'll just leave it as database 1 and press OK. And then go ahead and click on create. So now we've just saved the file to the desktop, which I think is a really good place to start working with this database. At some point in the future, if you'd like to share this with some other people, you can add it to a shared folder to allow collaboration. So now we are here at the Access navigation screen. At the very top, you'll see File, Home, Create, External Data, Database, Tools, Fields, and Table. This is the menu, and these are the menus. And then below the menus we have the ribbons. So now that we have created our very first database, what is a database? A database is a tool for storing and interacting with information. It's not Excel, because Excel uses spreadsheets which are meant for displaying, organizing, and calculating information, while databases are for working with that information. So for a few examples, registering sales, pulling up a club's member's phone number, checking inventory, finding a list of registered participants. Whatever the database is used for, it's intended to be much more interactive than a spreadsheet. And a few more examples. I mean, think about this. We all like to shop online. Well, a lot of us do anyways. Well, shopping online, signing into the email, or some other kind of membership, essentially almost any situation that involves submitting information and receiving information in return is working with a database. And most computer applications work with databases, and they are an integral part of most companies. So now that we have this database created, the next thing we need is data. So go ahead and select the Create menu at the top, then select Table in the ribbon, and then from there you can add numbers, you can add text, information. You can always start typing in columns and data if you really wanted to, but it's much easier to import data from somewhere else that's already being created. So let's go ahead and do that. So at the menu, select External Data, and then in this case you have quite a few options here in the ribbon, but I'm going to select the Excel button, and then a new dialog window appears and gives you a few different options, and then I'm just going to leave it the way it is and select Browse. And I actually already downloaded in my downloads folder a spreadsheet that I'd like to import into this database. It's called Employment Data, and it goes over California employment information. And here you see that this Import Spreadsheet Wizard dialog window, and you have some options here. So now that we have the import spreadsheet wizard set here, it's really important that we have the first row contains column headings selected so that it's not included in the data set there. But it looks fine the way it is, so we can just go ahead and select next, and everything looks fine there. So I would just go ahead and select finish. And then the next window appears. It's finished importing, and we can go ahead and close. So, and then you can, let's see if I can just minimize this. Okay, and so now we've opened up a new table here of imported data from that spreadsheet. And just like that, with a few keystrokes, you have now primed your database with some rich data that we can start analyzing. So just to refresh your memory, we imported data from a spreadsheet in Microsoft Excel, which looks like this. Lots of data, and if there's any particular things that need to be changed within the data set, it's highly recommended to do so from the spreadsheet in Excel and then re-import the spreadsheet to Microsoft Access when you're ready to do so. However, if you'd like to just preview what we have already and you're not actually making any modifications to the data except for actually the way it's presented, then you can do so in Microsoft Access. So I'd like to change the formatting of the dates here. As you see, it's set up as the numbers of the month, the date, and the year. Just go over to the fields menu there at the top, and in the ribbon you can find a data type of date and time, and then the format of general date. You can make some adjustments by selecting the drop down menu there and making some adjustments. But if you want to get more customized, you can go over to the view button here, select the down arrow and go to design view, and from there select date, and you see that the format is general date. And I'm just going to make a customization here, mmm.yyyy, and go to data sheet view. It's going to ask you to save the table first, and you say yes. And now you can see that the dates have been adjusted. So you have the first letters of the month, dot, and then the year. And also, I'd like to make some more adjustments. As I see that the labor force, I like commas there. You see there's no commas set here. So what we can do is go back to the fields menu under the ribbon, just underneath data type and format. You see these buttons. Select the comma button. And there it is, you have commas here in the numbers. I don't want those .00s in the end, so I'll just go ahead and decrease the decimals by selecting this button, decrease decimals. And there it is, it looks pretty nice. And just to keep the theme going, let's go over to employment and do the same thing. We can add some commas, decrease the decimals, and the same thing with the unemployment numbers. Comma, and decrease the decimals. So basically what we've done was we've made some adjustments to the basic properties of the data fields. We can continue to build on our database by adding extra information. In this case, we'll go ahead and select external data from the menu external data and select Excel. We're going to import another spreadsheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and find that real quick. And nope, that's not the one I want. I want to go, yeah, well maybe, yeah, that's the one. I want to go to this one and press OK. And as you can see, the spreadsheet wizard appears again. But area name and area category need to be set as the first row contains column headings, and these are our new column headings. We don't want that to be part of the rows. So go ahead and select next. And that looks fine. Just go ahead and press finish. And we are going to import categories as a new table. And so now you have two tables. One is for the employment data, and the second one is a category. So the true power of Access comes from its relational database functionality. And a relational database is essentially a way of linking data from different places, like category or employment data, for example, using a common field or identifier that exists in both of those places. And at the moment, you can see that both of these tables have a different set of data, but we will link them in a moment. So we can see here in table 1, that is the employment data table, that it provides some historical data about the labor force in California. In fact, there's over 20,000 records here. So this goes all the way back to 1990. If we go all the way down, we can see that at the very bottom. And then in the second table, the category table, this simply categorizes each area name as either small, medium, or large, based on the relative population size of each of those areas. So as you can see, each area name appears only once, giving us a total of 58 records. If we go back and forth between these two tables, you might notice that there is a match between the area names here, and this means that we are ready to go ahead and start creating a relationship between these two tables. So creating relationships between common fields and separate tables is the first thing that we need to do to maximize the use of Access powerful features. A relationship basically allows us to bring different data sets together in one table without having to manually add or copy data. And for us to do this, all we need is a field that's common to both tables. So let's go ahead and start off by going to Database Tools, and that's the menu option there. Select Relationships in the ribbon, and then this dialog window pops up. It says Show Table. Select both of these by dragging below the category and then just moving the mouse up till you have both of these tables selected. Select Add, and then we can go in and close this out. And what you'll see is these two windows here. You have the employment data window and then the category window. So these windows represent those two tables. And for the category window, I'll just bring it down a bit, and you can see that employment data is to the left and then the category is to the right. So to create a relationship, simply drag the area name from table 1 and drop it over to area name here in category, and this pops up. And it looks like it just wants to verify that we want to create a relationship between area name of the employment data category, employment data and the category tables. Select Create, and there you have it. You have successfully created a relationship between two datasets using the area name field, which is common to both tables. And so we've created basic building blocks of a database. So the next thing we need to do is work with something called a query. A query essentially allows you to selectively view and aggregate only the fields from your data that you wish to analyze. So let's go ahead and go to the Database Tools menu and then select the Relationships button here in the ribbon, and you can see that we have that relationship between the two tables with area names highlighted. So just to refresh. Go ahead and open up both tables by selecting them, by double clicking on them. So you have the relationships tab here, the employment data tab, and the category tab. Remember that the employment data goes over labor force in California over the last years, many years since 1990. And then the category tab goes over the different areas and the area categories of either small, medium, and large. Let's say I want to add the area category into our employment data table next to the area name. Well, to do so, the first thing we need to do is go over to Create and select the Query Wizard. And from there, we have a few options that pop up here in this new window. Select Simple Query Wizard, which is the very top option. Select OK. And for this window, it says, which fields do you want in your query? Well, with our Table 1 employment data, we'll just go ahead and with the double arrow select that, and we'll select all those fields. Then on the drop down menu in Table 2, we only want the area category to be added. So use the single arrow and then select Finish. And then from there, you can see that the area category appears in employment data table now. So this is considered a query now that we have the area category added to employment data table 1. Now let's say that we want to move the area category so that it's alongside the area name. This just makes it easier for analyzing data. So basically just select the column heading here and you can actually just drag it over to area name. And there it is. Let's say that we want to sort the data by ID, which is how it was originally. So you would just go over to ID, the very first column heading there, and then click on the drop down box next to ID, and then you can select smallest or sort smallest to largest, and there you go. You'll see that the data has been resorted in numerical order, which is how it was originally. You'll also notice now that when the area category alongside the area name is for every single record, and this has essentially unlocked Access's relational database features. So how about analyzing our data with the Report Wizard? Preparing tabular reports using Access data is easy. From the Create menu, go ahead and select the Report Wizard. So there it is in the ribbon. This allows us to very quickly and easily create new reports from scratch. So let's say that we want to create a yearly summary report on the employment data for California. To start with, let's go ahead and move the following fields from our available fields to our selected fields. Let's move the year. Now let's move the labor force, the employment, and lastly the unemployment field. So now we have them all here in the selected fields. Let's go ahead and click on Next. Now let's move the year across to the right as well. This allows us to group the data by year instead of showing it in tabular format. You'll see in a moment what it looks like. Now let's go ahead and click on Next. And now let's click on Summary Options. And we want to check the Sum box for labor force, employment, and unemployment. This means that the data will be summed by these fields rather than showing every single record. What we need to do now is select Summary Only and then go ahead and click on OK. Now let's click on Next. And now from here, I would highly suggest just trying out the block layout, and then for orientation, let's have the orientation set to landscape as opposed to portrait. It'll make it easier to view the data and the results. Now let's go ahead and click on Next. And how about we give the report a better title than 01_0, yeah, you get the picture. We'll just change it to Summary Employment Data. Now let's go ahead and click on Finish. And we're going to get a preview of the report after a few seconds, and voila. So Access has created a nice summary report for us of the employment data by year for California, and you can take a little bit of time to play around with it, and you can mess around with some options for the reports. But yeah, this is our first report here. And now you had an introduction to Microsoft Access. We've went over how to create tables. We've gone over how to import spreadsheets and data from other sources. We've created reports. As it is just an introduction course, I would highly recommend considering looking into databases a bit more. You can learn more about forms, which are useful, allowing us to easily enter, edit, and view a table and query data. That was the other thing we went over. We went over queries. Another thing to consider for resources is to go to our website and go to mybpl.org and find online courses under the Learn menu. And from there, you do have some resources here: Creative Bug, Gale courses, lynda.com is the one we're going to select. And from there, I highly encourage you to try out lynda.com because it has many courses available to you on a variety of subjects, including Access and Office tools. All you need is your library card number and your library card PIN from the Bloomingdale Public Library, and you'll be able to access those resources for free. Thank you for taking part and watching this video. I wish you well, and good luck on your database projects. Take care.